Should be bossed around. I'm married.
That's is okay.
Come on back.
Yeah, he was the one having.
Well, he's really not on here till the end. So.
Yeah, he's fine. He'll be fine.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
He's not important.
Amy can cover his one little piece.
All right. All right, it is 5:35, and we are going to say that we are in open session. Thank everyone for being here tonight. We're going to go ahead and get started, and Mrs. Borders is going to lead us in prayer and pledges, so if everyone would please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Lord, thank you for your wisdom and your guidance. Lord, I just pray that you will guard our hearts and our minds, Lord. Put a hedge of protection around our children and our teachers and our administrators and our parents, Father. Let us be mindful of you, Lord, in all of our decisions. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. There are no public or requests to speak to the board, so that is good. We're going to move to agenda item 6, and Mrs. Keith, you're going to start. If you don't mind.
All right, so last month we talked STAR scores and you got to see those. Today, we're going to talk accountability. Those were released mid-August. You've probably seen that all over social media. This I wanted to share with you real quickly. This was shared with the superintendents of the regions. It kind of gives a historical view of what accountability has looked like since 2018. As you can see, you get up to 2022. And that was the last year right before everything changed. And as you know, there is a new accountability system in place. And also, in addition to that, like it's calculated differently. That's the accountability system. But they also changed the test. And we've talked about that quite a bit in here. And I know you're very aware. But I wanted you to see the number of districts that were A, how it was trending. And then after 2022, that's a pretty drastic decrease. And you can see that with every group, it drops until you get to C, and those, they had to catch them somewhere, right? And so those numbers start increasing from C down. Okay, some longitudinal comparisons. We include EcoDis in this because it is important. It does play a role. There is a direct relationship with with the scores and the economically disadvantaged percentages. And so you can see before the STAR redesign what the grades were, the A through Fs, and the numerical scores. The 2022, we were an A-rated district that year, but the state provided a what-if scenario. And so they took all of our numbers and they auto-populated it into the new accountability system and said, if these were your scores, and they moved all of that data into that framework, the new accountability framework, those were the scores. So we were an A district, but if you looked at it under the new accountability system, we were really at 89B. So you can see all of our friends and neighbors, how they fared on that. If it is blue, that means that we performed as well as or better in each of those categories. Okay, you can see there's one little white box over there with the 85 for Maybach, but by and large, we performed as well as or better. Okay, I don't expect you to read this. This is what we call a comparison group, and we don't set our own comparison groups. Every school district has a comparison group, and it's not necessarily the same schools in each of the comparison groups, but we only have one. This is from Kaufman High School. And so these are schools that are similar to us based on enrollment, their EcoDis, the total students, and then all of the different breakdowns in those columns. So you can see that that's our group. And so we pulled a few of those that we would consider comparable districts based on those numbers and put it in the same framework or table so you can kind of see when you're looking at schools that are built like us, that are their composition is very similar, how we compare with those. Again, the EcoDis, and then the same rule applies. If it's blue, you can see that we performed as well as or better in those categories in similar districts. Okay, Kaufman County ratings. Again, friends and neighbors, and this is looking at reading all grades and math all grades, that we use that in our strategic plan. And so everything we do draws back to that strategic plan, and we want to make sure that any actions that we take or interventions that we place on campuses go back to this. So you can see when you look at it from this way, especially in meets, that's our new focus group. That's why that is outlined. When you increase your meets, everything else is going to also increase. That's the line of thinking. But you can see where we're working on the meets in both reading all grade levels and math in all grade levels. And then distinctions. These are, they are awarded to campuses based on how they perform. Each one of those distinctions has a different number of indicators that they go to look for. And basically, are we performing in quartile 1 for each one of those indicators? And if you hit enough of them, then you get the distinction. Okay, and some of them aren't available for all campuses. Some are specific to the high school. But overall, you can see we got these earned distinction Phillips. Had academic achievement in science, the junior high was social studies, and then look at all of those beautiful distinctions at the high school. They've done a really good job staying ahead of the curve for a lot of things that are CCMR, and I don't want to step on their toes too much because I think Gavin's going to talk about it next month, but Dr. Nichols has been very proactive with his TSI boot camps. And we talked a lot about accountability during Summit, and just by doing that, it touches so many domains. And they are staying ahead of all of the new changes that Gavin's going to talk to you about next month. They're one step ahead. And when you go to the things that we go to, I mean, that's rare. And so I really appreciate all the work that those guys are putting in over there. And then our overall rating for this year was the B84.
Can you let me interject here?
Yes.
So you saw the what ifs score, and originally back in 22, the high school scored a 90, but in the what if, it would have been a 94. So it's one of the rare areas where you actually saw the data go up. So whatever Dr. Roberts was doing back in 2022, he was actually way ahead of the curve. The awesome part of that is that greatness has continued, 3 years consecutively after that. So you got 4 years in a row of an A. So Dr. Nichols came in last 2 years, you got 94s. We're splashing that all over our announcement boards at the game. When y'all go tonight, you'll see it up there. So the high school continues to knock it out of the park. And you heard Dr. Nichols present about the math and the incredible work they were doing. And to know that they got one of those indicators in the area of math, and even when it relates to special ed, we heard some of those conversations. So kudos to the high school for maintaining that high excellence that we want.
Well, and just to piggyback on what Dr. Garcia said, the system changed, so it's a lot harder, but the high school in itself, that bar keeps getting raised. Just on the high school campus, as far as like the CCMR indicators, like they keep changing. Last year it changed again this year. It's going to change again next year. Things are sunsetting. You have to be a completer. So that has even evolved to where high schools are dropping and we are not. And so kudos to Dr. Nichols and his team for sure. Action plan, we looked at this in the summer. So we have done the data dive ownership, just kind of where we are right now. In fact, tomorrow our principals are doing their cadence of accountability. And that is where they've selected one area that's going to have a maximum impact. And we're going to talk about that and support them through the year. It's just another layer. They've done all of these things with staff. And their data, they are consistently doing this all year and tracking data, but this is just itemizing something even smaller that they can get more bang for their buck. And we're looking at those. They put a lot of work into that, and they're going to present to our team, and we're going to help support them in that area. Personnel, we feel really good about the hires we've made. Curriculum fidelity. I mean, that's teachers are working hard. You've probably heard, if you have friends that teach, they're probably real tired right now. But comments that we've heard from various teachers and staff, I mean, it's hard. Bluebonnet is hard. I don't know if you've had conversations with friends. But we've heard things like, I think my kids know more math now at this point of the year than they did last year at the end of the year. That was an administrator when they walked in there, like, wow, the conversations kids are having. The things that get sent home with parents have like a parent page that kind of explain to the parents how to help them with the homework. And that's been a nice resource that we haven't had in the past. But just things, the fifth grade teacher at one of our elementary campuses said for 2 years, he's been setting his goal on a TEK that he just can't seem to crack. Like, students are historically scoring low, and it introduced it in the first module, and he's like, what in the world? But then it recycled back, and he's like, wow, like, they're getting it now. And so I'm real excited to see where this leads us. But it is a lot of work on our teachers, and so we appreciate them. And then the PLCs, we've done a lot of that. We rescheduled the PLC planning times on campuses that didn't have for STAR-tested areas that allocated PLC time. The junior high is PLCing every day. And so they've made their master schedule work where they have that time to go through and internalize those lessons for the day before. So good things are coming. We're excited. Got a good feeling about it. Any questions? Yep.
Great job.
Thank you so much. All right, we are going to move to 6B. Mr. Jones, you're up.
All right. Good evening. Thanks for having me back. So we're here to look at the GMP, or guaranteed maximum price, for the middle school and Ag Barn projects. So the booklet you have in front of you contains all the information we'll walk through. I'll kind of move relatively quickly. If you have any questions, please stop me. In the first tabs, there's 4 tabs that make up the whole GMP booklet. In the first tab, you'll see kind of an image we looked at last time we met, which shows where we were at our 75% estimate, which was about 96.4 million, and then where we came in based on the bids that we received from the subcontractor market. So behind that tab 1, you see that summary page. Those first 3 lines that say GMP, middle school, public infrastructure, and Ag Barn, that just shows you the broken out values for each of those areas. So it won't really affect you guys in any way directly, but it just kind of tells you how much value you have in each area. And then the total base bid comes to $95,776,656, which is, as you see there, about $600,000 under where we estimated we would be. So very encouraged by that. Like we said, we received a lot of participation on bid day, and so we feel confident you've got a very competitive price overall. And then down below the blue line, you see the classroom alternate listed for 1.79 or about 1.8 million, which would bring the total with the 8 classroom alternate to that $97,566,000 number. Ms. Borders asked last time about, what we think the price might be if we were to push that alternate, not build that 8 classroom edition and push that out 4 or 5 years. So we did kind of an exercise to that effect, just to illustrate, to the best of our understanding. Like I said, we don't have a crystal ball that works real well, but we can estimate some inflation and some other costs. So that's what this handout is, the separate sheet that I gave to each one of you. So essentially what we did is we took today's cost, is in that blue block at the bottom, and we tacked on some other costs that we know would come into play if we were to push the alternate classroom edition to a later date. So the first one is the light blue color, additional general conditions and fees for a separate mobilization. So for Poe Construction's, supervisory costs like a job trailer and our project management time, all of those costs. And then the same cost for subcontractors. We would pay a factor for every trade to show up at a separate time with equipment and all of their, personnel. We estimated that around $411,000 to do that totally separately. And then in the green block, identified that as subcontractor or scope inefficiencies. So one easy example is if we were to push that and do it at a later date, one trade that we would have to involve is like a demolition contractor. Would have to come in and demolish, brick or whatever's on that facade, cut holes in the, in the wall for a hallway opening or door openings. So you'd have some scope that just wouldn't exist if we do it today with the building, that would come into play if we do it at a later date. And then lastly, that gray block, this is where, we have to do our best to estimate, but we have seen in the last about 3 years, we've tracked about 0.5% of inflation per month. So we put that on this value, which comes out to over $800,000 in inflation. And again, we don't know that number. That's a projection. So you can see here that, it's a significantly more expensive effort if we do it at a later date. And this is projected about 4 years from today. So that's just for your reference. But again, for today, the cost is at that $1.79 million mark, which brings that number to the $566,835 number if we were to accept that today. Behind tab 2, this is kind of the meat and bones of the GMP. We have a summary report by bid package. So this is a breakdown of the entire GMP by trade, essentially. And I won't go through each one of these individually, but essentially we receive bids on bid day. We establish these budgets, these line items, based on the lowest qualified bidder in each of those categories. And again, that's something that your administration had a part of, was involved in on bid day. We passed around bids. We talked about individual trade partners or subcontractors, the ones that, we wanted to involve or maybe didn't want to involve, like all of those things. And that discussion doesn't end, today. We still can have those discussions if there's any concerns. But that's how we arrive at these budgets. And again, this is essentially, it's not a line item budget per se, as much as kind of it's a GMP guaranteed max for the entire project. And this is how it kind of breaks out, if that makes sense. So on this first page, you see kind of your early divisions in your structural elements, like Division 3 in concrete, 4 is masonry, 05A is your structural steel, so that's one of the larger line items. That's your building structure. When you get into 06 kind of through 09, you have your kind of finish elements, so your interior carpentry, your wall finishes, doors, frames, hardware. Division 8, we get into glass and glazing and some of your exterior envelope elements. So glass and glazing, waterproofing. Division 9 is more like drywall, acoustical, interior finishes. Division 10 is specialty items. So you see like toilet partitions and some of the life safety specialties like fire extinguishers and all those items you see kind of sprinkled throughout Division 10. On the second page, you get into some of the specialty equipment, like your lab equipment, music, storage, wood, laboratory casework. Down in Division 12, about the middle of that second page, you see your bleachers. So your telescoping bleachers is at the gym. And then 13C grandstands, that's your exterior, your bleachers at the football field. Down in like 21 gets into your mechanical, electrical, plumbing items, and some of those are some big ticket items. You see there, plumbing and HVAC, and then electrical are some of the big, the big chunks of scope in the building. And then down below you have your low voltage items in 27 and 28, and then 31 and below are kind of your site, so your earthwork and utilities sprinkled throughout there. Tennis court you have at the very bottom of that second page. And then on the third page, just a couple more trades, fencing and gates, landscape, and then site utilities. So those make up what we call like the cost of work. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what's going into the building in the field, and that comes to that 85.395 number. And then the last page, so on the next page, you see a summary of some indirect costs. So that first block, you'll have our allowances and contingencies. Again, these are items that we've talked about through pre-construction, through estimating. And so we have owners and CM contingency. Those are exactly as they're described there for any unforeseen. Maybe it's scope changes or additions that the district wants to make as we get into construction, something we realize we want to add or change. CM contingency is there for just any unforeseens to protect against things that might impact, our ability to deliver the job on time. But generally, we do our best to protect those. Our goal is to return as much of that to the district as we can. And our track record is really good in our ability to do that, to manage the job, to be communicate, be transparent. Any expenditures that come from these, we communicate. So we don't just utilize these dollars. We acknowledge these are the district's dollars, and we request approval, and so we get your architect's approval, and then the district before we proceed with any expenditures from those. Below the contingencies, you can see those are kind of labeled as they're described: HVAC test and balance, ERRS or BDA. So that's the emergency radio responder system. So nowadays, we see a lot of fire marshals come in. They want to test the radio connectivity or transmissibility for like their radios as we finish the building to make sure they can communicate out. And often we have to install a system like almost like an antenna system so that they can make sure they boost signal to be able to communicate in an event. Graphics allowance is a place where we just capture any new signage or graphics that kind of comes up as we go through construction that we want to add to just enhance some of the visuals. Fiber run to the MDF, that's something I mentioned last time. That's some low voltage infrastructure that we'll need just to provide connectivity to the building from your existing server room. And then that last one, ag barn facade enhancements. So this is something we talked about after the last board meeting to put some dollars to the side to make any adjustments we want to make to the front, the entry of the ag barn. So those subtotal, you can see that kind of subtotal at that 89.5 million. And then down at the very bottom, we have our essentially POG costs. So general conditions is primarily our oversight costs to just operate on site. And then our insurances, bonds, and then construction manager's fee at the very bottom. So again, that brings that total to 95,776,656, and that's the base bid. And again, the alternate would be that separate $1.7 million number. Beyond that, so in tab 3, we have the project schedule. Again, we're very confident in our ability to deliver the project on time, which is a target July 1, 2027 date. And if you are bored this evening or want to do some light reading, feel free to dive in. There's a lot of information in there. So that's our detailed project schedule. And then that last tab is our site logistics plan, which again just kind of shows you how, it gives you a visual of how we'll operate on site, where we will be, where our trailer will sit, and where we'll kind of stockpile material and things like that. So that is all that I have in the GMP, but would welcome any questions.
I know at one point we were talking about different types of foundation with our wonderful Kaufman soil. What type of foundation was finally decided upon?
Yes, ma'am. So good question. So it is a what we call like a structural slab or a slab over void form. So the way that it is built, essentially, we will drill piers to the bedrock, and you pour like a grade beam, and then the slab itself bears on those beams and piers, and it'll have a void, like an air gap between the soil and the bottom of the slab. And so the soil can move, literally 6-8 inches, and it won't impact your foundation at all. So I'm pretty confident in saying it'll probably be the best foundation you have in the district, just based on kind of what the market and design and structural engineers have kind of adapted to over time. So I feel pretty confident that it'll meet the needs in these soil conditions.
Fantastic, thank you.
That black dirt will move too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I built a house on it and get to experience that every summer. So, yeah.
With the 8 classrooms, what will that bring the total capacity of the junior high to?
That is a good question. I don't have that information offhand.
I was thinking
can
it's going to be
certainly-
around, for sure, 1,500, because it was already 13, if you're using 90%. So That should push it up to 1,500. Not that we want 1,500, but just in case 1,500 come, we're ready. Better be ready.
You build it. All right, anyone else? Amazing job. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate you very much.
If we were to receive approval tonight, obviously we would request direction on, whether or not the alternate would be a part of that. So if you have any questions.
We'll tell you in about 3 minutes.
Love it. Thank you.
Or less. All right. Speaking of that, we're going to move to agenda item 7A. That is to consider and approve the guaranteed maximum price for the Coffin ISD new middle school and Ag Barn project and authorize the superintendent to execute the associated GMP contract amendment. Does anyone have any questions as far as the additional 8 classrooms? Because that is where we would want to answer these questions. Correct.
You got 2 motions in front of you, so
So one will be, yeah, go ahead. No, you're good, you're good.
A is gonna include the 8 classrooms, additional 8 classrooms, and B is if you do not want the additional classroom space.
I make a motion to approve, option A as recommended by the administration. Would you like me to read that?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Just because.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the new middle school and Ag Barn guaranteed maximum price, better known as GMP, in the amount of $97,566,835 as submitted by Poe Construction to include the alternate number 1 classroom addition and authorize the superintendent to execute the associated GMP amendment documents.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mrs. Borders. All in favor? Great, that is 6-0. There's your answer, my man. Thank you guys very much. Great job.
So it's
Thank
gonna
you.
be ready in the next week?
Yeah.
Bring the backhoe team. Whatever you got.
History has been made.
Yes, it has.
Thank you, everyone. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to go to agenda item 8. That's just some consent agenda items. Does anyone have any questions considering those 2 agenda items? Let's see there. All right, anyone? Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms.
Of all the items on the consent agenda?
All right,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. O'Donnell. All in favor? All right, that is also 6-0. We're going to move to our superintendent report. This is agenda item 9. Mrs. Keith.
I got 2 items first before Ms.
Okay, thank you.
So number 1, I want to recognize Mr. Gregg. He is going to be serving on the credentialed committee during the delegate assembly on Saturday, this Saturday. So he is going to be certifying delegates and making substitutions.
Mr. Bigman.
You never know.
You never know. He's going to be in charge down there. So congratulations to that.
Thank you, Byron.
And then also, I know we had a couple students come that we're working on.
Oh,
Jenny's giving me.
While she's getting the one student that's coming over there, Miss Fowler, I know normally we do student of the month, starting in October, we bring them in all, so usually we recognize August and September at that time. But we do have some that came today, so I don't want to pass up on that. So Miss Fowler, will you introduce our student of the month for Gary Campbell real quick, if you'll just stand and.
Well, this is a very special student of the month and ex-student now.
Graduate of the month.
Yes, yes. He is our first 2026 graduate, Kara Hand. Kara will not come back to school until the week of May, so we wanted to honor her. She was also chosen as our student of the month.
Nice. Congratulations. We'll get your photo. Here, if you want to bring him up. We can do it. We have another student though, also, right? Is she working on it? All right, there we go. We're here.
It is Ellery Robinson, and she has been so excited to be Student of the Month. We've been waiting a long time for this. So we're here tonight. Stay with, you'll get your certificate, and then you're gonna take a picture to her, okay?
Come over here. Can you hold this little up on your side here?
Sure, sure.
Stand right there. There you go. That's good. There you go.
Got it.
Hang on, more pictures, more pictures. Wait, Drew, wait, Drew. Get in there, family.
Thank you so much. We'll get that on file for real quick. Yeah, I like that superintendent report because it could be as big as I want.
Random as
It
you
can be
want.
as random as I want it to. So congratulations to our students again. All right, Ms. Keith, you're up.
All right. Ms. Campbell oversees all of our guidance and counseling programs, and she's done a fantastic job of like getting it consistent across campuses and programs that were successful at one campus. She's really worked to help them implement it in others, and she actually prepared this document that you see in your board. We're going to let her talk a little bit about those programs.
One of the things we are looking at, it was in our goal for this year, is to continue and grow our mentoring program. Those of y'all who've been around a while, you're probably familiar with that at Monday Primary Elementary. It's been a big success. So we are expanding that to Phillips and also to Nash this year. We had our first meeting or training last week, and we had 20 community members, and I know there's more of that because Kim had done kind of hers that are returning to her. So I know we have over, and I've already had probably 3 reach out to do a training that still want to do it. So we still have people coming in. We're super excited about that. We also have several mentors that have been working with students at Monday, and they wanted to continue with them to junior high. So that attests to how successful that program is, and so we are going to also branch that out for there if they want to follow their kids on into junior high. So anyway, real excited about that possibility that will happen there. So that's going. Also continuing to align our SEL curriculum that's kind of been in place, but with Character Strong, we purchased those materials about a year and a half ago. So our counselors are working to stay more consistent with their lessons, the parent letters, the parent communication. They did several initiatives last year. Junior high does Character Dare, which is really cool, and I know Shining Stars and all the different campuses do different things to kind of keep that overarching idea of what we're working on. It's really important. It's strangely, you can't do one lesson over decision-making or making friends once, and sometimes we need to reiterate that information. So the more we can put it out there, talk about it, put it in, use the same language, that kind of thing. Hopefully that's gonna do what we want it to do. Also, junior high has incorporated guidance lessons. I think it's probably for the first time I've ever been around with for 6th graders, so that's really good because it takes a little bit of a turn on what you're working with on junior high students, a little bit different conversations, so we're excited on growing that as well. All right, so anyway, sorry, my picture's at the top. That is our community. At the end of the year, they have a party with their mentor, and so that's a really big deal. That's what the pictures are from last year, continuing. And then some Character Strong pictures of things we do with our kids to recognize them. There's a lot on social media with that as well, which is fun to see every month. The next one, just generally talking on making connections and meeting those needs. Students need different things, and different times of the year they may need something in May that they didn't need in September. So we just try to be very intentional about staying on top of that and being responsive to what we see. We're kind of having to tweak our processes a little due to some new laws. But we are going to fix that and do everything that we can to continue, of course, to meet those needs for those kids. I know something that they're doing at Helen Edwards, and you might need to jump in, really cool that Ms. Arroyo did. She's now the counselor there. She did a training with all the teachers over Calm Down Corners. That's a kind of a new across the board emotional regulation kind of tool. Teachers are trained how to use it. The kids are trained how to use it. This is what that's for. There's a timer in there. They know, they kind of get themselves together. They have some things in there to help them do that. and then return to the class. So that's something we're excited to see how that works. So that's up and going at Helen Edwards. Also, Dr. Nichols, I know, has added time this year in the calendar each week where counselors can have some of that time to get in front of groups of kids and get more information out with career interests, academics, college, planning, training, all different kinds of things. So that's going to be a new opportunity this year at the high school. At Gary Campbell, Dean's got lots of things going. I know we're looking at a partnership called Forward through FBC. And we're still ironing out the details of that. And then they also have a nonprofit Voice that started coming in last year. And they do also group lessons over decision-making, peer pressure, just things to do in tough situations, study skills, all kinds of stuff there. So that's been really good and growing. Some more this year. And then at the bottom is Deanne's picture. She worked really hard this summer and it's really great. And I'm technology challenged, so I was super impressed with her digital hub that she has, and it has all kinds of information linked again for career. And again, we see that we had a graduate in September. We won't see her again until May. So when are senior pictures? When do I need to have my FAFSA done? All those kinds of things. All that information is linked just to help with communication processes with those kids. So that was a whole lot of information that's packed in there that's very accessible for kids and parents and staff and all of that. So I wanted to be sure. Y'all have something that I'm missing? There's so much. Really hard to get on one page.
You did good.
I just could talk. I don't like talking, but I could talk a lot about one page. Anyway,
Great job.
questions?
No, that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All of you. It's all of you. It's that village thing.
All right, Dr. Roberts, gonna move to 9B.
Yes, sir. I just start with Senate Bill 12 and reiterate that Ms. Campbell has done a load of work and she is awesome. So we are very thankful for her. Yes. Number 2, resignations, retirements, and new personnel. I was going to point out that we did hire a new police officer at the junior high. Very happy to have Officer Reed. His swearing in was just about a week and a half ago here in the boardroom. Great opportunity for him and for us. And one retirement that I wanted to take note of, and we'll have the opportunity to really celebrate her coming up, but after 40 plus years, it will be very tough to lose Miss Kerr. We are so thankful for everything she's done. TIA, Teacher Incentive Allotment, is the next portion. So we are now to the point where we will be submitting our numbers to TEA and Texas Tech University for validation. But before that, we will submit all the information we have to the individual teachers in the format of a scorecard, which has been provided to you, where they can see all of their data. Basically, the main data is their domains 2, 3, and 4 on whether they qualify, did they have students, et cetera, from October snapshot data to the end of the year, did they have a beginning of the year test, end of year test. It was applicable to a TIA. The second step was the T-test part. Where were they on their T-test evaluation? And depending on that number, they could fall anywhere on there, either no designation, recognized, exemplary, or mastery. And then the next step was the percentage of students that met growth with, within their subject that was tested. And it will also say the number and whether they were recognized, exemplary, or mastery. They must obviously qualify at the top, and then they must hit both steps, the student growth and the teacher evaluation, and whatever the highest is of that grouping. So if they're exemplary for T-test and student growth is recognized, they would fall into the recognized category, and that is what we would be submitting them as. This does not mean they get the distinction. It still has to go before TEA and university. We're using this scorecard as our advisor has suggested, and I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to Miss Amy and Miss Marcia. They have done copious amounts of work. I can't even begin to talk about how much they have done to make sure this is clear. There's a QR code on here for teachers to ask questions, but realistically, the T-test was finalized in May. The student growth is off the scores from last year. It would be more directional based questions than weather scores because those don't change. those were determined last year. They're just numbers that we pulled out of our system. So they will receive this from their principals, not in electronic format. They will actually have it hand delivered from their principals, so it's a one-to-one. In an upcoming week, they'll have about a week to ask any questions, and those questions go directly to us. We'll try to answer any questions they have, and then that submission will go off to TEA right at the start of October, and then they will let us know whether our district qualifies and whether our teachers become designated or not. We won't know that till roughly February, and then they wouldn't get paid till the end of the year. So there is some time gap in here that we're looking at, but the scorecard today is the big piece, and it'll be going out on Friday, September 19th.
All
Is
right.
that paid in like one lump sum, or is it?
It is paid in one lump sum, and within our guidebook, 90% goes to the teacher, 10% goes to administrative costs, because we do pay for like Teach Ready tests and those things to help our teachers become qualified.
Dr. Roberts, that police officer, we're back fully in, aren't we?
Yes, sir, we.
Okay, any questions regarding that? Grant, bring us home.
All right, just wanted to point out a couple things on the financial reports. First off, I know y'all really astute board members noticed that some of these are repeat reports from the last one. So I just wanted to point out that because of the change in September of the deadline of when we have to have things posted now, sometimes it actually falls in a prior month, and so I can't finish out reports to get you some of the most up-to-date things. So what I've done, if you've noticed over the last several months, several of our reports lag by a full month. So it's in September, but you're seeing a July report. That has to do with just the timing of when we get information from the tax office and things of that nature. Now, everything is going to basically lag by that full month, because even check registers aren't complete by the time I get this information over to have it posted and things like that. So just notice that. I also wanted to just let you know, in case you see upcoming, we are looking at a new credit card company to kind of be our carrier for credit cards. We have some opportunity to pick up, we're looking right now at US Bank. They were officially awarded, I think the state of Texas comptroller awarded them as their kind of official credit card. They won the bid, and they have a lot of things that come along. This is for our credit card company, not our banking, just our credit card company, right? There's a lot of features and things like that they offer us that allows us to further kind of nail down like what things can be spent on what, also who can be issued cards. We can actually get in and control limits and things like that. Some stuff that we just have never had access to before. So as we grow, it just allows us to kind of watch those credit card spending and things like that a little bit more closely. So that probably will be changing in the next couple of months. Currently, Card Service Center and First Bank is what you guys see on these. It'll look a little different. Didn't want you to be alarmed. Just know that that's sort of in the works. And then I did want to point out, I added another sheet there called the Fund 698 proposal. And this is something we've been talking about a little bit over time as we're kind of prepping for that replacement plan for our facilities and maintenance and things of that nature. That's still in the works. I'm hoping to have a draft copy of that to y'all at the next meeting. But in preparation for that, I wanted you to see what that would look like on the financial side. And so if you look at the fund balance tracking sheet that y'all are used to seeing, that's that top dollar. I just grayed out the areas that we wouldn't touch. And so what we are going to propose is that the thing that we were already kind of calling capital funds would become the Fund 698 capital projects account. And so that $4.4 million would move into that 698 account to be earmarked for some of these more long-range roof replacements and things of that nature. And so I went ahead and added a new dollar. So this is what, if that were to pass, then this is what the new fund balance dollar would look like, if that makes sense. And so basically, the money is still there. It's just a little bit more intentionally earmarked for capital projects. And your fund balance dollar would probably be a little bit more accurately reflect what our fund balance actually looks like. So it's, as you know, guys, there's some non-spendable and restricted items that we have to keep and set aside. but we always keep that 3 months operating and that 1 month emergency. That's basically all that sheet was for. So I don't know if you have any questions over any of that so far.
Anyone? Great job explaining that, Grant. Thank you. All right.
Next.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, maintenance. So a lot of good pictures here. I'm gonna have to give props to the top left picture on the maintenance report, like they put the sun in the background and posing with the flag and all that stuff. As you can see, a lot of prepping for school to get going in this. A lot of work done to clean up the stadium, trying to get it ready for those first football games, getting some seats replaced, renumbered, et cetera. There is a roof replacement there. Hopefully many more to come. That one right there is the Nash office roof, and they're not done with it yet. So I know that there was, yeah. Okay. Yeah, they're still working on finishing that one up. We had a real heavy rain right after this, and they weren't done with all the edgings and stuff. And I think a little bit came in, but it should be leak free after the second round. The interesting one at Phillips, we had a lightning strike. That's what that is there. That got caught on camera. So that flared out image there. We actually have video footage of it. There was a bird sitting in that tree that didn't get hit, but was terrified. You can see it flying off. And then they had to take that down. They did a lot of tree trimming and stuff over at Phillips because we had to reroute our buses and our parents for drop off and all that kind of stuff. So that's what all the trimming is there. Some concrete pour going on over at Gary Campbell as a new kind of walk up with the new gates and fencing system that we have over there. We're still working on getting all the electronic side of that finished. And then I don't know if you guys have seen the new graphics at the football field. I think they're looking really good. There's a couple of little things that are still missing that we'll get in and get over there, but looking good over there so far. Transportation report, always good. I'd noticed that they did get sort of a food picture back in this month. It's at that bottom picture there with Dave Booker. It's an empty plate, but there was food on it at one time. So, a lot of good stuff. I love their new logo and their t-shirts and stuff like that. So pretty cool stuff going on at transportation. And then I did throw in an extra slideshow there. I'm not going to go over it much. Just wanted you to see something that Angela and I actually sat down with the Connect Ed portion of TASB and what they do. Kind of as we were going through the facilities process, they always kind of want you to check in with this Connect Ed portion and see if it's of any interest to the district. So what they do is they offer to pay for and install cell phone towers on any unused or available portion of land, not just for us, for a school district, but obviously TASB markets to school districts. It's a 50 by 50 piece of property is what it takes, so it's 2,500 square feet. Then they would market that to the heavy carriers in our area, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T. And if the district wanted to pursue this, and you could get those three carriers on any given tower, it earns upwards of $30,000 a year of extra revenue over the life of the contract, which they said that once a cell phone company comes in and gets, on a tower, they want to be on it from then on, because they don't want coverage to lapse on their side. So, one tower is 30,000, 263 is 90, and on and on and on. At first I was kind of like, I don't know if we want cell phone towers. But they said, it's going to be on your property or it's going to be on your neighbor's property. It's coming. You can make the 30 or your neighbor can make the 30. I left the meeting, walked outside, and they said, go out and look and just see, because you don't notice cell phone towers anymore. We're just so used to them. Yeah. I literally walked out as you're sitting in the home bleachers of the football field. Look just directly across, just on the other side of our property line is a cell phone tower, and someone's making, $30,000 probably. It's got quite a few carriers on it, looks like, off that tower. So I bring that to you as an option. If it's something you guys are interested in, they will come out and present to you and let you kind of see what they do. I thought it was interesting. It's no cost to the district. It's just basically they're leasing our spot, and it's just another revenue stream. They're interested in areas where there's a lapse in coverage. That's what those heat maps are in that some of those slides show there. But it's pretty interesting. They actually were they only pinpointed where they knew our current facilities were. So like out on 243 or out on 175, some of these other areas, there's also opportunity for a tower or something like that. So if something you guys are interested in, I'd be happy to call them back. I know they offered to come out and present to a board meeting, but I just thought it was an interesting opportunity.
Is that structured as like we ground leased them that piece of land?
Yes, and it's a long-term contract. What, do you remember the years on the contract? 30 years? Yeah, I think it was 30 years. Like it's the way it's structured, you make money based off of the number of carriers that they can get to put one of their receivers or whatever, I guess, on top of your tower. They won't even put the tower in unless they get interest. So what they do is we say, yeah, we're interested. They then go out to AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile and start saying, hey, we noticed you guys have lapses here. We have an opportunity to put a tower here. And they get them to pre-sign a contract on, because it costs $250,000 to build a tower on their side. And so they're putting in quite a bit of money on their end to even construct the tower. But it's nothing on our side. But once it's there, it's there. So you definitely want to be strategic about if it's something we want to do, about where it is and things of that nature. They had mentioned, just looking at ours, the bottom hill back of Nash Corner, kind of over there. They mentioned several of our spots. They would put one, I think, on every campus, to be honest, because coverage lapses. There is a little bit of a benefit to us in that if they put one closer to one of our buildings, the signal gets crazy boosted in that building. So that is a benefit. Y'all got any signal at Nash right now? Yeah. So right. And you can look at those heat maps and see, that's why you don't have signal. You just look at that and you can see where the signal is. I was surprised the carrier I use seems to be least coverage, but anyway.
I think I would be interested to hear what they have to say.
I've seen, if you look at these tower examples, I've seen one of these like little tree ones that have been up, and I mean, not that we have big, huge pine trees.
Yeah,
Anyway, I mean,
every one of those is something they do. They will work with us too, like you're saying. They did mention that they're like, it looks great in East Texas. Now maybe in Kaufman.
That's where I saw it.
Yeah, right. It does disappear in certain areas, but that clock tower has one in it. You know, the building itself on the bottom right has a tower in the corner piece there. But most of them, they said, are more like the other three examples. The thing I would say, depending on where it is the tower does kind of disappear over time, but what they put around it would make more of a difference to me, like, you know, chain link versus wrought iron versus a, you know, brick fence or something like that. You do want, you do notice it as you're driving. We're not really always looking up in the air, but and that's all part of the negotiation. We get what we want, basically.
It's just another income source. Like you said, it's right across the street there at high school. I know that.
I'm telling you, when you're driving home, just start looking at the sky and you're gonna be like, wow, there are towers everywhere. That's crazy. Just didn't recognize it.
We'll bring something to you then. Hopefully, we'll get with them and see how quick they can come and present more detail.
Cool. Any questions for Grant? Thank you, Grant, for your report. Dr. Garcia, enrollments, what are we looking at?
Holding steady. High school, today would probably be 4A. We'll see what happens in October. But holding steady. The one that's in the board book is different than what I shared with you on my Friday report. The Friday report gives you a little more what you're used to seeing from the standpoint of, you saw there was a lot of growth over at Monday. And then you saw numbers. We lost about 100 kids from Nash and 100 from Phillips, and that's all by design. So just know that that's all waiting for those other developments to come online, and it's just a matter of time because they will come online. But we did it strategically. Somehow they're still feeding over 600 kids at lunch in that little itty bitty cafeteria, but I check on that cafeteria at least once a week. A lot. That's all I got.
Great. Thank everyone for being here tonight. We appreciate it. 6:29, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Go line.